Welcome to the Intentional Household Podcast. I'm Laura Wilson, and today we have Alex, my husband, joining us. Today we are talking about something a lot of families go through when they're in transition. So whether this is a family with all their kids transitioning out of daycare into school, or a move, or a new job, it is figuring out the type of help that you actually need and getting it. You and I, we always wanted a nanny. We wanted a nanny because we wanted someone who would help with the cooking and cleaning.
I think I'll step back. It's not that we wanted a nanny. It's that we had no family around us to help us with the child rearing and household responsibilities that we had. We just, the nature of us living in Toronto, and it just goes to that adage, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, we didn't have a village around us, so we had to create our own village. And that led us to initially getting a nanny because that served our needs for a period of time. But then, now, do you want me to tell the story? Or do you want to tell the story about the transition period when you realize that, wait a second, a nanny isn't the right person that I need right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a transition period could also be growing your family and having another child. So we had a nanny, like we said. And the reason we had a nanny is because everyone we knew, they hired a nanny. That was just the thing to do. They didn't hire like a household manager or a housekeeper or a cook. Everyone hired a nanny. So we're like, well, hiring a nanny is the thing to do. So we had a nanny. She was wonderful, and she did help with the kids.
And still today works with us.
Yes, she does still support us. But I can recall vividly one moment when so we had 3 kids at this point, and when I was busy in the kitchen cooking, and I was also cleaning all the dishes, and I could hear the kids in the background playing with our nanny and having so much fun. And I remember thinking, but I want to be part of that. I want to have fun with the kids. I don't want to be here cooking and cleaning. Let's switch. And so that's when I think we had a discussion, like our needs have changed, and our youngest will soon be going into daycare, and we don't need a nanny anymore as much as we need someone who will clean for us and walk the dogs and cook. So yeah, that was the point when we realized, because if you find yourself with less time available, you're stressed or just like resentful of some of the tasks you're doing, that's a time to recognize that maybe it's time to change or to switch your help.
I want to drill down just a little bit further, just the feelings we had at that moment and what we realized we could do if we were shifting the different tasks that we needed help with.
Mm-hmm.
We basically said, okay, once our youngest goes into daycare, so that was after 18 months, we don't need someone around the house during the day at that point. At that point when he needed actual, being looked after the child. But what we realized if by shifting those tasks that we needed help with, that we could unlock more time with the family. And specifically when you look at unlocking that dinner around that dinner time, as you were saying, you were preparing meals and then cleaning up after the meal. Wouldn't it be much better if you could just come in, you pick up your kids from school, you spend some time with them, meals ready for you, you eat your meal, and then after dinner, you can go to the park with your kids. And I just wanted to drill down on that because people realizing the moments you're getting with your children by unlocking this. And we've talked to many people and going, hey, why don't you get someone to cook your meals? And why I just want to highlight it is like by shifting that responsibility away from you, cooking and then cleaning up after your meals, you can now spend every evening with your children and going to the park with them and creating those moments, because there's only a set period of time that you're going to be able to do that. And once that period's over, you can't go back and get that time to go, hey, after dinner, let's go to the park, or hey, after dinner, let's go do this activity or that activity. But we have the complete freedom to do that and no stress to do that because we transitioned away from the nanny to the cook/cleaner. And the nanny was needed. There was a period they were needed. But as the children aged, the transition came. And the key point is sitting down and writing out your priorities and getting clarity on how you want to unlock your time.
I think it can be really easy for a lot of families to skip this step and stay loyal to the nanny that helped them because they're the employer. And I can see a roadblock being, well, like, what are we going to do? Just leave the nanny high and dry because we want someone to cook for us now instead. But the reality is they're serving that purpose for that period of time. And I think most nannies don't expect to be supporting you forever because you don't have kids forever. A lot of people, they want to be working within their strengths and their skill set.
I'll go even more, and we'll relate back to our experiences. You did give the opportunity to the nanny at that time, and you said, "Hey, we're transitioning away from child rearing. We're looking for more these services in this role. Are you interested?" She wasn't interested in moving towards that. And just to your point, where you feel a need to hold on to the nanny, do a service for them. Have you had a conversation with them? And a lot of times, there are specific nannies that want to take care of specific age. Like there are nannies that are great with babies, but don't want to deal with toddlers. There are nannies that don't want to deal with babies or toddlers, but maybe want older children that are more capable in doing their own. But you have to have that conversation with the individual, and they're okay with moving on because in their ideal world, they want to be dealing specifically within a certain area.
Yes. So before you sit down and have that conversation, what I would suggest couples do is do an assessment of all the tasks that they're currently doing and putting them into 3 different buckets, which would be what tasks or activities energize me. Because believe it or not, there are some household tasks or activities that can energize individuals. That could be something like gardening. Some people actually get energized by cooking. I once did, but I don't anymore. So that's what energizes you. The next one is what drains either your energy or drains your time. And it's important to recognize that because while you may not dread doing the task, but it takes time away from other things that you could be doing. So what drains my energy, drains my time.
And I'll jump in. I want to give an example of that. And I give this because, we've lived this. We've evolved. For specifically, when we talk about the draining, Laura didn't like going to the grocery store. Laura didn't like going to the grocery store. That was a dread and a draining of time. So I said to Laura, I'm like, Laura, big deal. I'll go to the grocery store. And she's like, absolutely not. You are not going to the grocery store. And because I need you around here helping around the household. That is not a good use of your time. I didn't find it draining. I'm like, no problem. I'll go to the grocery store. But it was a draining of time. And she's like, no. You're not going. There are more efficient ways to do that. So just give clarity to people out there. Hey, you may think you're doing something, but hey, there are now delivery services that deliver groceries.
Yes. The point is it's taking away from the things that matter most to you or your priorities. And then lastly, you have a category of what is essential, what's an essential task for me to complete, but it's draining. And the reason we want to differentiate that is because there are essential tasks such as, for us, putting our kids down to bed is essential for us. That is draining though as well.
Well, it's absolutely draining, especially when you bring them a Yogurties and feed them a bunch of ice cream and candy with that. I did, not
before
Laura.
bed.
I did that before that bed this weekend. Absolutely a draining bedtime.
Hyped up on sugar.
It's terrible.
But we want to at least identify that because there are strategies we can do. We aren't going to have someone put our kids down to bed 7 nights of the week, but maybe we'll do it 6 nights of the week and then we'll get someone to support us the 7th night. So we want to identify that. The reason why we have these 3 buckets only. So it's, again, what energizes you, what drains you or your time, and then what is essential but draining. Whatever task it is, it should fit into any of those 3 tasks. If you're like, I don't mind doing it. It doesn't bring me joy, but I don't mind it. Okay, that's draining then, because that's draining your time. So you are going to put all these tasks into different categories. For example, getting kids ready for school. What bucket would you put that in?
Well, I'm not that much involved in it.
Okay, I would call that one essential but draining.
Okay.
School drop off.
Well, that's essential.
Okay. Breakfast cleanup.
We do that.
We don't, because that is draining. So we have delegated that one out. So what you're going to do is, before having the conversation with your current support, let's just say the nanny, you are going to categorize all of the tasks that you do in the household into these 3 different buckets, so that when you come out with these draining tasks, that is going to be the foundation of the support that you need. So you're going to take this and recognize, okay, our needs have changed, and these are all of our needs now. So now cooking may be on there, whereas you hired the nanny and cooking wasn't on there as an expectation. And you're going to have this new list of needs. And then you can have the conversation with I'm just saying nanny because for us, it was a nanny. And you can have the conversation with the nanny like, you know what, with our youngest going into daycare, our needs have changed. We aren't going to need full-time help anymore. Our needs have shifted to, and then these are the things on the list so that it's crystal clear. And then we said, like, is this something that you would like to help us with? And it was a no, because cooking wasn't in her skill set. And she understood. She's like, yeah, my job here is done. There's no one here during the day anymore. And so it was a mutual understanding. And this conversation was done a couple months in advance to give her lots of time to look for a new job. And so that we also had time to look for our next support. But as far as I understand, there was no resentment because it was open communication about our next stage of life.
You know, it goes back to running your household like an organization. If a task is complete and the individual that was performing that task doesn't want to transition into a new role, then they're free to go find another opportunity somewhere else. If there isn't a role that you can create for them, and again, that individual still does work with us. It's just not a full-time basis, but she is on the list of babysitters that comes and helps us with our kids. Or if we're doing an overnight getaway, she's someone that still helps with our children when we still need that child care help. It was just a transitioning away from that. And then she could pursue opportunities that best filled her skill set that, again, she wanted to do. Just like any organization, you want people doing things that they want to do.
And I mean, some organizations have seasonal roles. You know, you hire that person and it's very clear that you may only need them for a period of time. And then that time is up and they move on to a role elsewhere. So it's very similar, I would say, because if you continue having that person because you're like, well, I hired this nanny and I don't have it in me to have this conversation, it's not serving you. And that will lead to resentment and you picking up. Now, I'm not saying picking up the slack, but I was doing a lot of the cleaning after the kids went to sleep and we had 3 kids and I wanted the house in a certain state. I would be cleaning from the time they went to bed until the time I went to sleep. And you were like, this is not sustainable. We need someone who can do this instead. So you really want to think about what is serving you and not keeping someone just because you feel like there is a loyalty to them.
I like how you brought that up in regards to, I forgot about that conversation where you were cleaning up, before bed. I'm like, well, this is impacting your mood. So let's talk about friction. You want to hold on to this individual, but there are other things you want to remove and you're not able to move those somewhere else because you have someone that's now in a redundant role. Well, let's look at the friction that is being created by you not being able to remove things from your plate. So now you have friction because you're not being fulfilled. You could have friction with your spouse. You could have friction with your children. Now you're creating friction in the household. What we want to do is remove as much friction in the household as possible. So how do we do that? Well, let's look at what we need help with. And if the people that you have helping you within your household aren't removing the friction that's currently in your household, then you need a realignment of responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to put it in different ways so that when people are listening to this and like, well, how, that maybe that doesn't apply to my household. Maybe that doesn't apply to my household. Oh, shoot, I got friction in my household. Maybe it does apply. You can say the same thing many different ways. And it's just about what we want. Our ultimate goal is that we say it in a way that it clicks in your head and resonates with you.
I can actually see how my cleaning until bedtime created friction for us, because if I am spending the evening cleaning and you are watching your show.
Absolutely. Well, let's frame it in another lens. I'll give an example how this could create friction. Two different ways. Number one, and this is just me personally, I have difficulty going to bed if Laura hasn't gone to bed yet. Okay. It's not a vice versa thing. It's Laura can go to bed without me, no problem. But I have difficulty falling asleep if Laura hasn't come to sleep yet. That's friction number one, if she's still out doing responsibilities. Friction number two, though, is that if I'm sitting there watching TV and Laura's busy cleaning and doing things, now she's building potentially resentment towards me, going, well, what's this guy doing? Sitting there watching TV, relaxing while I'm doing this cleaning. And then in my head, I'm like, I really need this downtime. I don't know why she's doing this right now. I don't want to do this right now. Well, that's a huge potential level of friction, but that was all removed by delegating that task out. So if you're in a household now where and we've talked about this many times, that it's all about you as an individual that needs to be fulfilled, get your fulfillment time. And then once you're fulfilled, you can then help support the other individual. If you're at home and there's one person doing something in the evening and they have an expectation for you to help, but if you need your recovery time, and if your recovery time is sitting in front of a TV and recharging, and we've talked about realigning that previously, but whatever it is, you need to be recharged to help the other individual. And if you're not aligned in regards to someone's doing things in the evening and you just don't have enough energy to do that, well, then there's a friction period. You need to sit down with each other and like, well, how do we remove this friction? Because one person doesn't have the energy to do it and the other person wants to get it done. They have expectations of that other person. Well, now we have a mismatch of priorities. So let's realign the priorities. Let's figure out how to do this. And if you have the ability to bring someone to help, then do that. And maybe it's a transition time. You're like, well, we can't get someone because we already have this person here. I'm like, well, maybe that person doesn't suit the role anymore. So we need to do a realignment.
I can certainly see how, particularly when it comes to laundry, folding laundry. I'm just thinking how in the evening, you may have a laundry basket in a living room and one partner is folding that laundry and just building up the resentment inside because that other partner is there watching TV and not helping.
I've lived it. I've I've been sitting watching TV and you come help me hang these wet clothes.
Well, yeah. I communicated that.
No, but I gotta say you communicated and I got up. I didn't realize there was wet clothes to hang. But it's an example.
I wasn't even going to use that example because we weren't even in the same room. But I can see how couples can sit in the room together watching TV and one person is folding the laundry and the other person doesn't join in. And then the person doing the laundry is resentful.
There's been no communication.
And
we've talked about this before. And I don't know if we've talked about this, but you and I have talked about this personally. I gave an example of the wet clothes, but we're pretty good in communicating, or you're very good at communicating this to me. And I appreciate that. Thank you. But you have to assume that the other person doesn't know you need help. Even though you want them to know and you want them to jump up and help you, they just might not know you need the help. Because a lot of the times if you bring it up, the individual will actually get up and help you. And I know it can be annoying to some people going like, well, why can't they read my mind? Well, they can't. They can't read your mind. They don't know you need your help. And your example of now they're sitting there doing this task, building up resentment. Well, have you asked the other person to give you a hand?
Exactly. But I would say the next step would be if you have someone who's cleaning your house already, or you have a nanny, get that person to fold the laundry. Because do you want to be spending your evening watching TV and folding laundry while your partner doesn't? And then your energy has been wasted thinking about how that person didn't contribute. Just eliminate it. And if you eliminate it, well, there you go. That problem's gone because you have someone supporting you to do it. And no one wanted to fold that laundry in the first place.
Well, I didn't mind.
Then why didn't you?
I did. I did. I helped you. You brought it in. Now we're going way back. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
I know. We're talking about years.
I remember folding the underwear and putting little kids' socks together and everything like that. But you would bring it down, and then I would help.
But it really is nice. That's a really easy one that can be outsourced, and it frees up your evening. And now, if you do choose to watch TV, you can actually sit and watch and relax and not have to worry about that never-ending pile of laundry. So we transitioned from a nanny to having a housekeeper who does the cooking and cleaning. And our nanny said, I don't want, this isn't something I want to do. But in many cases, the new job description could be something that they want to do. So yeah, maybe the nanny doesn't want to cook and clean, but if it was something like, hey, she was already walking the dogs for us. But if it's something like, I really need help as a house manager, I need someone to help like with this scheduling, and if someone's doing home repairs and they're meeting them, or I need someone to help run errands, that kind of thing, or like organize the household clothing and the books and just do anything that may clone me. And people do want to, it's almost like an upgraded role. So it doesn't always go in the way of declining the role. Some people may, depending what it is, want to do more or do something else. The first step is identifying what it is and having an open and honest conversation and making them realize like either answer is fine. You can say yes or you can say no. It is up to you, because they need to feel like it is the right seat for them as well. So thinking about how your life has transitioned to different needs, not only do you want to think about now, but if there's potential, thinking about it in the future. And so my example is we are nearing the end of the school year. And I know that with the next school year ahead, we are going to have more kids in programs. And shuffling 3 kids to different programs when you are only 2 parents is a challenge, because someone needs to be with the kids at all times. And they may be in 3 different places. And so thinking about outside of the box, not just your household tasks that a house manager or a housekeeper or a nanny would do, but maybe someone needs even a driver to help with logistics.
Yeah. So we're not at that stage yet, but figuring out how to get people from point A to point B. It goes down to sitting down and going, well, how do we create more time? And how do we accomplish everything that we want to do? Mm-hmm. Well, if you're that proverbial taxi driver, you're like, well, is that the most efficient use of your time shuffling people from point A to point B? And again, it just goes on your list, and people may love that. Mm-hmm. People may use that time. You know what? This is the time that I get one-on-one time with a child, and I'm able to connect with them. And this is the time that they let their guard down and they open up to me if I'm traveling to this sporting tournament somewhere and we're on the road and that kind of thing. I'm not saying that you're giving that up, but what you can do is you can strategically plan going, hey, is this something that I want to do? And am I bringing him to practices? Or maybe I'm bringing him to the out of town tournaments on the weekend, but at practices, I can come up with a plan to get them from point A to point B, and I'm not necessarily involved. It just sitting down and then building a plan around that. Is it a driver? It doesn't have to be something that costs money. Is it something where now we have, as a group of parents, there's other parents that are on the team, and now we have a pickup schedule that we're coordinating between all the parents. There are different ways to tackle these problems, but it all comes to sitting down and figuring out what's the best use of your time and how do we use the resources that we have at our hands. So again, there's a paid model in regards to hiring a driver. There's a free model in regards to coordinating with other parents that are in that activity and creating a carpool system. But if you don't take the time to sit down and deal with it, and it is something that's an issue for you, it's going to again go back to that friction. It's let's remove the friction that is causing issues within your household, within your relationships and everything like that. Let's tackle these before they become an issue. So we're talking about transitions today. How do we reallocate our resources, whether it's time, money, help, to better suit that our needs today and in the future?
And I think it's also important to recognize when you have your list of items that you want to outsource or that you want support with, is recognizing that anything is possible. Because someone may look at that list and be like, driver, that one's unrealistic. But there are solutions for everything.
Well, and I'll jump, let's use the driver example again.
Okay.
There are going to be parents out there that do not want to drive other kids around. I don't want to deal with that. That's something that really drains me. There are other parents out there, you know what, I really want to drive my kid around and the other kids because I want to get to know the other kids that my children are associating with and everything like that. So going back to your reference point, if we use the resource of the carpool, there are parents out there that'll absolutely love to drive the kids around because they want to get to know the other kids. And there are other parents out there like, that sounds terrible. I don't want to do that. But you're willing to do another thing that parent doesn't want to do.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like it all works itself out at the end of the day.
Or hey, you could even offer them some cash or something as an incentive. And the other thing is, it's a matter of problem solving because say you're okay being the driver, but then you still have a child at home. Okay, so maybe you're just going to bring in support to watch that child at home.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just being creative and recognizing the support that you need because you may be like, oh, I have to watch my child. Like I'm not available to drive that child to soccer because I have other kids at home. Okay, so maybe you have someone watching the kids at home and you're driving them. So it's just about being creative and finding solutions where possible because there is always a solution.
You can do whatever you want.
And these solutions can be done with various budgets. So we were talking about full-time support, but your support, it doesn't have to be full-time. It could be full-time. It can be part-time. It can be occasional. And there are also so many other services and vetted services that can support you that you can use as a one-off. Like I'm talking about having a chef come in and cook your weeknight dinners. That can be a one-off using a service.
I'll even jump on talking about that. Let's say you actually really like cooking and you don't want to give up cooking, but you don't have the time for food prep. You could just have someone come in on Sunday and do all your food prep for the week. So you haven't hired someone full time to do all the cooking for you. You're like, no, I can do the cooking. I just don't have on Sunday time to prep all the food for the week. So I just need 4 hours, someone coming in and prepping all the food for the week, and I can prepare it Monday to Friday. It's now we're just figuring out what's the big pain point. So the pain point necessarily isn't cooking because you're going to cook. It is actually the food prep. That's the pain. Now that's only 4 hours, not let's say 40 hours, right? So there are different ways to come at it. And you'd be like, well, who's going to come in and work for 4 hours for me? There will be people that come in. Many. If we're talking about, and this is just problem solving, right? Like you can take this approach to anyone.
Yeah.
So we'll just problem solve this out for people so they know that any problem is possible. Let's use the food prep example. Okay, well, who's going to come and work 4 hours? Anyone that's working in the restaurant industry, if they can come in and get paid X number of dollars by coming into someone's household for, let's say, 4 to 6 hours on a Sunday when they're probably not working anyways and doing food prep, that's some good money in their pocket to help earn a little bit extra. That there is an easy find in a very relaxed environment. Laura, you did come from a restaurant background before. What was the kitchen like was it stressful?
Yeah, I was going to say this is a low stress situation for them where I'm sure many people would see this as a breeze.
So it's just thinking about it that way, going, there is always someone that is willing to help you with that role. It's just identifying what that role is, and then you can go out and find that individual.
It's really thinking big when you're putting together your list of the tasks that you want to outsource and not having that limiting mindset because anything is possible.
Let's go back to that food prep example again. Let's go back that Sunday because I want to paint the full picture. That's what I do. I'm a picture painter. Okay, so we have the food prep done. What has that done? It's done two things. Number one, it has now allowed you on Sunday to go spend that time intentionally with your family, and you want to go do that. You're not worried about food prep. So that's great. That's number one. Number two, you are now eating much healthier during the week because you actually are preparing those meals and you're not using, let's say, Uber Eats, for example, and everything like that. Because the individual I was speaking with, that's what they were doing because their kids are so busy in activities that it was the food prep, not the actual, serving the meals and everything. It was the food prep and the different various times that didn't have help with. So it's just now by 4 to 6 hours on a Sunday, they can be intentional with their family, spending time with them. And now they're all eating healthier during the week. And they're going to save money because they're not using Uber Eats and skip the dishes and everything like that. So you've actually saved money by bringing someone in for 4 to 6 hours and you're eating healthier. So again, it's that creative problem solving to sit down.
It is, and really looking at it because as a whole, it looks like that could be quite expensive. But if you really break it down, and if you were to compare that to what you're spending ordering in, it's going to be more nutritious and cost effective. So for anyone who is in this transition period, whether it is a growing family, new job, you've recently moved, or just aging kids, or you see transition in the future, really sitting down and identifying where you need a shift in help and really identifying what it is you're doing right now and putting those tasks into the 3 different buckets of what energizes me, what drains my time or drains my energy, and what is essential for me to do, but it also drains my energy or my time. And then from there, using those draining activities as your foundation for the support that you need and being creative and using your problem solving skills to find the support so that they can offload those tasks from your plate.
It's all about the why. So I want to paint a little picture. I just go back, we talked a lot about food and everything's relating back to what we've done, but I can look now and think about taking my kids to the park. And I've seen the growth of my kids at the park. So watching my daughter on a swing, and I've had to push her before. And now this year, I push her and she knows how to keep going on the swing. She extends her legs out and then she tucks them back in to keep her momentum going. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's so cool to see watching her, being able to swing on her own. I get to push her and see her swing on their own. But I was able to experience that moment because I was able to go to the park after dinner with the kids. So it's whatever that moment you want to see, whether it's, seeing your child score a goal in a sport or watching their dance recital or whatever it is, you're creating that free time to have these moments for yourself and to spend with your family.
So it really comes down to as your family grows and evolves, so should your support.
And I'm going to add, don't you want to be there for those moments? Because guess what? If you don't take advantage of those moments now, you can't buy those moments back in the future.
Thank you for listening. We look forward to seeing you next time.